Pastor, thank you. Uh, so I was able to get on, and that's groovy. You see, well, first of all, I'm sorry, I'm choo. Hey, 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 I want you to feel it. I want you to feel it. I want you to feel it. Oh, oh, thank you, Pastor. Thank you. Now, that was a hug. I don't know what you saw. But I don't know. I am so bizarre, Pastor. It's just a fragment of my personality. That's not vain humility. I wish it was. If you knew how many changes I went through today, oh my God. But nevertheless, this fragment of the totality that I blame, that's a tongue-in-cheek statement, on my daddy and Elizabeth, who both love God on completely different ends of religion. My dad came from an Orthodox Jew family. He held Bible studies in the house before I was born. My mother told me after he died how she hated them. And Elizabeth, well, she was a Black Baptist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Her parents, her grandparents, excuse me, were slaves, like everything you hear. She lived in, at that time, what was listed as the most dangerous city, not Manhattan or Detroit, or on and on. The most dangerous city in America. And she lived in the most dangerous section, the projects in Newark, New Jersey. I give a lot of credit to Corey. I know I just do. Anyway, but she loved Jesus. Oh my. Never preached it. Elizabeth never once said, yeah. Wow. But I'm just darkness trying to be filled with light. Anyway, I'm sorry to be such a rambler, but I'm so safe with you, Pastor. But I am real. I swear I'm real with you, Pastor. I wish I didn't need you, so you'd know how sincere I am. I really admire you. I loved you today in your sitting at your desk. By the way, I've told you I live on so many dimensions, so some of the stuff I share with you is just blagadaga boo. But it's adorable to me. Do you know what I couldn't get out of one of the fragments of my mind? By the way, I've come to believe that people that are diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic have a wasp brain. But what I mean by that is they have a wasp eye brain. Can't ever get, some flies, boom, you get them. Although that bothers me to no end. I feel like a fly that lives on a pile of dung. So it's bizarre with me. But nevertheless, wasps, not bumblebees, wasps. People think their sting is Oh, they're black. Ooh. Well, their sting is as bad as any bumblebee, honeybee. We can't get them. That's the problem with them. And they're better at the warfare because they have their brain is like a high-end security person who has been trained to look at 9 screens at the same time and see them all equally and have to have their brain know. They can't go like, no, they just got to look at it. And that's what wasps have. They have the wasp eye. So I'm always, so many things registering. But anyway, a fun, nonsensical. Watching your room with that particular, I think it's called lime green. Please, that I don't know. All I could, part of my mind. I mean, I'm so stirred in all ways. As I hope that bubbles out that you'll hear. But all I can keep thinking about is, man, I'd love some chocolate chip. Wait a minute. I'd love some mint chocolate chip ice cream right now. Mint. That's all I can. I just. Anyway, never left. But is that your study? But you like that color, a light green, very light blue. According to my daughter, is some in the. They have 50 colors for autism. I don't know the accuracy, but she called me one time laughing out of her mind. She had to go to an all-day seminar. Whenever she got to her back to her house, first she said, "Daddy, I don't have my coat off. I had to call you. I just had to call you. Do you know what light blue stands for, which is my favorite color? Excessive talker." But anyway, any of the lights. Whenever anybody loves a lighter shade of, they generally are more sensitive. And green is, but I get crazy with green. But it was my daughter's favorite color. And, but anyway, it's all about growth. It's all about nature. And so a lighter shade is a gentler nature. Anyway, here it's 8 minutes. Yeah, listen, I better not do what I did last time. I hope I don't. I just love you. I love you, Pastor. Anyway, I started giving you a hug. And the reason I went right to my daddy and Elizabeth is because in a certain nursing home in, I think it was East Orange, New Jersey, they billed me not as, that my Screwy Drewy was on the thing. They just, I guess when I left the first time I ever did a show, everybody just wanted to know where Dr. Hugs was. And the first rule, I was hugging you. I didn't know what to do because I used to teach the people that would come with me. I had started what I called CTC, the Compassion Theater Company. And of course, most were troubled like I was. But anyway, it gave them, it was just good. It created, it was a beautiful concept. But anyway, I told them, I don't care what comes out of you. You got to learn to hug. And one of the rules is you don't let go until they let go. one of the rules was, this is the last time he'll ever be hugged. So give him the best hug you got. Sorry, Pastor, I'm just safe with you. Anyway. I did look up Deuteronomy 6 and read it. And I hope, I don't want to say it, I want to do it and then tell you. But anyway, I said, I'm not going to say this to Pastor. Like, Pastor, I just sit like this. Like if you didn't have chairs and whatever, and I could trust me, I would just sit like more on my stomach, make sure I was in the front, and just listen. But Deuteronomy 6 doesn't talk about loving your neighbor. Everything is about God. But anyway, I did look it up, and I if I didn't know Deuteronomy 6:6, they would excommunicate me just then. Like that's the John 3:16 of Judaism. Even the Reformed, or the ones that are humanistic Jews, they call them. I forget their synagogue's name. I forget how. There's a word. These are atheist Jews, but they still. It's all tradition for them. But they will read Deuteronomy 6:6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Anyway, but it does say to keep all the commandments, and it'll prosper you, and love the Lord your God with all your heart, whatever. That's when Jesus came around and said, hey, I got a new commandment. It sums it all up. One of the things I thought about was when he said new commandment. Now you got depends on how orthodox you are. If you're just a middle class American Jew, 10. If you're an Orthodox Jew, I think there's over 800. You probably know better than me, but you know your Bible. I love that about you, and you do, and that's one of the reasons I trust you. And but you filter everything through grace and love. That's astounding. That is astounding. You emulate that non-judgmental, uplifting, unconditional love, and that's what you preach. Listen, I don't agree with homosexuality. You really know. You do, Pastor. You do. 100%. Hate sin. You grew up, you saw, you hate it. But you 100% separate it from the sinner, and more importantly, you really, it's an odd tightrope you have to walk theologically, but you will fall probably, as much as you believe that there's, it's their responsibility. You pointed out that you also seriously look at Ephesians 6:12, and so you're willing to say what darkness is driving, and how many hurting people that were hurt by other people, and the sins of the father and the father's father, and this dark domino. And I see why you so much. Jesus means everything to you, and you saw what you grew up in, and so you just want to offer this Camden County. I don't even know where I am, but in the county area, place where, listen, here's an alternative, 100%. And for you to point out that in your academy, this alumni learned how to love. I told you about 2 months in, I cried on the phone. We were starting to really talk now. And I said, you know why I want you to call me? Honestly, I know I always tell you I'm a 7-layer cake. But really it was Stacy Gilchrist who, her life is so shattered. If I get into that, I just get so mad at God. For her and me. I'm telling you, I probably would have been in Colorado with her and her boyfriend. And I probably would have lived with her boyfriend because she told her boyfriend, no nookie until there's a ring on my hand. And she's already been married. But anyway, she told me to my face the last time she saw me. And then she got avalanched, like my father. Avalanche, except she's still living, but it's impossible, her life now. And best nurse I ever had. But she told me last time I saw her, her mother just died. And she had to hold me. It doesn't matter. I was so out of my mind. I couldn't slow down to grieve with her. She didn't care. She didn't care at all. But it was the last time I saw her because then everything happened. She got coronavirus, all kinds of bad things. But anyway, the point is, I probably would have been in Colorado. She brought her boyfriend over a few times so we could kick the tires. She was letting me know when she got the super promotion. She can't even nurse now. But anyway, I'm rambling. The point is, I would have, she just looked at me and said, this is just around the time I realized I was really going to be homeless for the first time. Anyway, and she just looks at me, Avi, she looked right in my eyes. I used to call her Mom sometimes. And she goes, you're not going to be homeless. I give you my word. And she meant it. And then, can the dead keep their promises? No. Nor can the zombies that are 90% dead from all the pain they're under now. But anyway, why did I go into that? I was babbling about how evil I am and how I hate this particular person and whatever. And she said to me on the phone, Avi, that is vindictive. Now, she started as a nurse in psych. And anyway, and I cried, and I knew she's right. And you were coming into my life at the same time through Janet. And out of honor of Stacy, I decided to be a pain in your tuchus and hope that you would be the most different clergyman I probably have ever met. And you are. And then I believed you could teach me love. But it doesn't mean I'll be able to apply it. I did it for Stacy so I could be better. You really emulate the new commandment. So guys, listen, here's number 11. Your entire tape today was 111 and 5 seconds. Anyway, the 11th commandment, the new one. Dr. Hugs. I was thinking today, if you remember that Drew Horn 2013 Voice, VOICE award acceptance speech. It was 8 minutes and 3 seconds speech. It was supposed to be 30 seconds. And I shared because I was so sick. I had already fired myself twice. I begged 4 people, including my daughter. I could never stay mad at my daughter, but I was a little ticked. I was too sick to go. Anyway, they sent somebody with me to babysit me. But that's why I got on my hands and knees, and I was hoping for a Danny Thomas. Oh, I'm so straying from your message. I'm sorry. I was hoping for a Jerry Lewis that would get his Rat Pack and instead of muscular dystrophy, let's end loneliness. But I knew. So I got on my knees. I said, listen, you know this award you just gave me? I'll give it to you as a down payment. But you got to take this concept of we got to end loneliness. Anyway, no one did. They all told me, well, a bunch of them said, best speech you ever heard. You're amazing. Were you listening? They weren't. But I shared in there how many times I'd go into places of pain, especially nursing homes. But a lot of times in psych wards too, in the wards. I'd reach down to give them the super hug. Of course, I'm animated, so I made it into the zippity-doo-dah. And I go down to try to give them some joy. I also went down because I could feel them, see where they were. They didn't want a hug. I knew they were an abused dog. I didn't feel rejected. I felt bad for them. So I'd give them an elbow. I'd go in for the super hug. Pastor, I swear, so many. When I would go to get up because I knew I had to go, they weren't letting go. They'd be crying, some screaming, don't leave me here, I have no one. They mistreat me, don't leave me here. No one heard those cries, I was just the crazy people. I don't pay attention to them. I went nuts. But anyway, so I'm sorry you stirred so many bizarre things, but I wanted to just share one more thing. I think I've shared it with you, but it's all from your message, Pastor. Your message about unconditional love. Your message about radical love. He just called the disciples. You don't have to clean up. Just, I'm here to teach humanity how to love. We're going this route. Love, love, love. Whole new route. That's why when Saul became Paul, it was so astonishing. Because there was no love in religion. It was legalism and fear. Don't do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. If you live in an Orthodox community, I am telling you, from the time you have a time to get up, because there will be a rabbi. I mean, your whole heart is still giving people their individuality and time to grow, and he that began the good work will perform. You just feel like a co-gardener with God, and I know that. It's so beautiful. But any religion, they get so legalistic. Well, it's astounding. You literally, you don't have to think 7 days a week. You just have to perform all these laws. Now Saul's the same. He's killing these evil Jews that are telling you, oh, you don't have to do any of that, man. Just love. They'll know love. And that's why he said, by any means save some. He just saw his entire people, and he was like the super gladiator for people. No, it's just we gotta love. That's all. Love. Yeah, no. So anyway, wow. Verse in Ephesians, filled with love. It challenges me. I fill my heart with the pre-intention to love. I have, Pastor. I've made a determination. That's why I don't like to go out by myself. I vowed in my head, I'll be good. Gotta love my enemy. I knew that as a Jew. My dad was astounding. Anyway, and I end up in the psych ward. Kind of the only, you're so pure. Please, I don't. Anyway, the point is, that's the point. Forget the allegory. My intention was to be like my daddy and to do the right thing. And believe me, Pastor, this is hard for this to come out of my mouth. I've asked God a lot to help me in this area. And I'd still end up in the psych ward. I told you, Pastor, I taught my daughter. It's one of the most, I have one of the fondest memories. I have endless amounts, but I do. Endless amounts with my daughter and I. Endless. I don't think there's a subject you could mention. I wouldn't have 3 stories about my daughter. But when I had to teach her about dependence on God, I played a game with her, and I'm going to speed it up because I know I told you. I told her she had to touch the ceiling. Now, my austerity with my daughter was none. Like, I tried to be Santa Claus and hide all my. Anytime Mr. Hyde came out, man, I'd be weeping and crying. I'd beg her to forgive me, and I just might have gotten mad. But oh my God. My daughter, if you look cross-eyed, she was that sensitive. But anyway, focus. So, my daughter, so I told her she had to touch the ceiling in our apartment. Made a big game out of it. Brought Linda into the whole thing. And Linda always was a good, like if I was a magician, she was happy to partake. And anyway, we went on for about 5-10 minutes. Went through the whole apartment, went into Uncle Abe's room. I said, you gotta, come on. And then she figured it out. She did. She goes, Dad, you lift me up, and I can touch the ceiling. Oh, boy. So I understand that. God asked the impossible, so you'll depend upon God to fulfill it. And I determined not to let this evil come out of me. I wanted to be like Elizabeth and my dad. But that's exactly what happens. And I do the opposite. It's way beyond Paul. I'm telling you, there's something really wrong with me. It's beyond. It's beyond the cartoons. Pastor, sometime, if you ever come back again, I want to know about your paranoid bipolar, I guess, forgive me, but your stepsister. It's not blood, I guess, right? I'm very interested. Very interested. That makes you so uniquely qualified to be what all of this is. Anyway, but what I wanted to tell you was about Mr. Potato Head. And I think I told you this before, so I'm sorry for the reruns, but I won't go into detail. I just did a video. I wrote a song about it. Anyway, but ultimately the answer is Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. And by the time my daughter, like, was 8, 9, not only did they have a lot of Mrs. Potato Heads, but they had outfits. Like, yeah, you could spend your life savings on all these outfits. But they became all these different things. And ultimately, I've come to believe, like, I would attach my dad to his Mr. Potato Head capability. And I'd attach Elizabeth to her Mr. And my point is, people will go, I have the greatest sister. I have the greatest dad. I got the greatest coworker. I got the greatest boss. I got the best friend in the universe. I got to tell you, the guy that delivers our water, oh my God, we've had 50 of them. This is so, like you were talking about the speciality of that Portuguese pastor. And so I have this belief. It has nothing to do with what they're dressed as. From within, they already have to be the Mr. or Mrs. or, excuse me, Mrs. or Mr. Newell, non-judgmental, uplifting, unconditional love, Potato Heads. So, if they have the core of that predetermined, I am just going to love, and if I die, I die. I won't pick up a gun, live by the sword, die. I'm just going to love my enemy, and that's it. I'm loving, 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 like Elizabeth did. Elizabeth was so astounding. Elizabeth had perfect self-esteem, totally pitied my mother, and my mother treated her. I've never seen anybody treat one person so horrifically consistently. But anyway, so it's really the non-judgmental, uplifting, unconditional love. It's not, I got a good sister, or I got a good brother, or I got a good co-worker. Somehow, from within them, they practice loving your neighbor as yourself. More importantly, they practice this Good Samaritan, loving the stranger as yourself. That's the stretch. In our vocabulary, people can, middle America, they'll go with, all right, we'll reach out to the community, maybe a little self-conscious and whatever, but they will, with a good heart. But Jesus said, no, the testing ground of whether you're a sheep or a goat is Matthew 25. I always bring that up. But is the Good Samaritan. You love those that love you, big deal. Those that are easy. Paul said, I become all things to all men, that by all means. That's pretty radical. To save some. Wow. Odds aren't in your favor. Success isn't the ultimate, but you hope it is, because I want to help anyone that is a stranger. So anyway, it's the Mr. and Mrs. and Mr. Potato Head Newell. All right, listen, 34 minutes. Maybe I can end this here. I hope there's some value here. I just want to point out again, you're so calming, Pastor. Pastor, you're so calming. God made you a flute, a harp. Oh, it's beautiful. I can listen to you, Pastor, sincerely. This is no joke. Like I would put my head under the piano bench and listen to my daughter just play. And she'd just play. And I would let her know. She never ever said, Daddy, you done? She just played. And then I'd give a knock knock. She goes, who's there? I said, Daddy who loves you. Oh, Pastor, thank you. Thank you. All right. Hope you had a groovy Valentine's Day. It's a pleasure. I enjoyed. It was beautiful. And the praise songs were beautiful. I listened twice, and then I had to go back because I wanted to figure out Papa do. All right, Pastor. So, from East Orange, New Jersey, I don't remember the name of the nursing home. Dr. Hugs. But in reality, you really are the Dr. Hug. You're so healing. You're the real McCoy. It's beautiful. All right. Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you didn't listen, I get it. You got too much to do. I will try to shorten these, Pastor.